Welcome to the You Can't Afford Me podcast, where we skip the fluff and dive straight into the grind. Real entrepreneurs, real struggles, and the unfiltered journey behind success. Let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of the You Can't Afford Me podcast. Now, one of the biggest things I struggled with when I moved in the early days, before, when me and my wife were buying our first property, was I had gotten to the age where my friends weren't going to slip a disc for a slice of pizza and a 12-pack of Miller Lite. I had to look at hiring the pros. Now, had I known these guys then, they would have been my go-to, my top company to use. But in the past year or so, we've developed a relationship. They're actually a client of ours here at Enzo Media Firm. And I'm very intrigued and excited to sit here and talk to one of the team members, Chase, here today on the podcast. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. So give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So Chase Fuller, I run Cavalier Moving, help assist with some of our other companies we own as well. But I'm stationed here in Richmond, so I'm really overseeing, day-to-day operations for Cavalier. My title is general manager, so I kind of just make sure that everything's steered in the right direction.
Yep.
Any big things pop up, usually I'm the one to talk to or handle it, but we have a good team that works, alongside me, and we got managers under me that can, handle the day-to-day.
Yep.
So I'm more so just making sure everyone's, going in the right direction, but pretty decent gig.
Love it. Yeah, you're the guy I see at the networking events. Like you and I just get to sip a beer and everybody else is
that's the
running
good
around.
part of it, yeah, for sure.
So let's get a little backstory. Like, where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to college? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I grew up south side of Richmond. I guess, I know people from Richmond call it the south side of the river,
Yep.
I guess. So I grew up off like Whole Street and Courthouse area,
Mhm.
Chesterfield. Went to Manchester High School, graduated from there. Had a lot of family that went to Longwood. So
Hey, I'm a Longwood guy.
initially, yeah, no, I wanted to follow in that path. A lot of people in my family were teachers. That's what I thought I wanted to do.
Mhm.
So started at Longwood doing that. Ended up switching my major about halfway through because I got into the classroom and just decided it wasn't for me.
Yep.
So I switched to a comm-based degree. Was able to graduate from there, and COVID happened. Wasn't a very exciting time to be in college for that. So
Yep.
shut school down. Started to look at different ways I could earn some money instead of having to drive to Farmville every day.
Yep.
Stumbled upon the moving company that was working for or trying to hire some movers at the time as they were just starting out in 2020.
Mhm.
So I got introduced to them, started working there, and then kept going.
Love it. So is Cavalier your first job out of college?
Technically, my first job out of it, yeah. I mean, I had different roles. Like, while I was in school, I coached some, basketball teams in Farmville. I did some like sales jobs, just kind of intermittently through the summer and stuff like that. But technically, yeah, Cavalier has been my first job out of college. I was still working through it while I was doing my degree online to finish school. But yeah, post school, this has been the only job I've had.
Nice. So talk to us about how you worked your way up in the company. So you started out, what was your first position with the company?
Yeah, first position I had was just a mover. It's kind of like entry level for us. Started out as a mover. Luckily, I started out in that kind of growth period, where we were, first year as a company. Of course, at the time, as a mover, I could have cared less, what the growth path of the company was. I thought I was going to have some, big time job right out of school. I didn't need anything else, but started out as a mover. Generally, made my way to like the supervisor role, which is where you're handling contracts, customers, driving, all that good stuff. To which, as I got to that point, I think the powers that be, the owners of our company, I guess, could realize I had a decent head on my shoulders and said, hey, well, if you don't want to be a supervisor all the time, this is what you could do.
Yep.
From there, moved into like a generalized sales role, just handling, customers, inquiring over the phone, things like that. From there, went to customer service. So I'm just really connecting with customers, inquiring about questions about their move, things that might have gone wrong, whatever the case may be, things that went well. They just want to leave feedback. From there, handled marketing before we had our marketing team now, which is obviously
love your marketing girls
a ton. So before we had them or before we had anyone that we hired for it, I was doing like customer service and marketing. So it's like we need to get the name out there a little more. So I would be driving around, stopping by apartment complexes, realty groups, stuff like that. Realized that it's tough to do, 4 different things at one time. So we hired out for that and finally was able to get that off my plate. Moved into the operations role for a little bit, weekend ops. So, working that weekend shift, making sure things can go smoothly over the weekend.
Yeah.
Moved to a weekday role, doing the same thing, and then eventually made it to where I'm at now, where the same title. So I've been doing this position for about 3 full years now.
So that's a pretty crazy story to go from like the most entry level job in the company as a mover to the GM of the company.
Yeah.
What do you think was the thing? Because anytime I hear when somebody has some sales experience, to me,
Yeah.
that's the number one skill that anybody could ever acquire. Like, if you
Exactly.
know how to communicate with people, if you know how to sell,
Yeah.
and it ain't just selling services.
Yeah.
Like you're in a romantic relationship, you had to sell yourself to your girl,
Yeah.
you had to sell yourself to the company initially when
Yeah.
they first brought you on. Like, we're all selling, whether
Yeah.
people realize it or not.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you think was the major thing that contributed from your growth in the company?
The funny thing is that, like, I remember the first day I applied, I still go back and look at our like Facebook Messenger where I messaged the Facebook page for the company and was like, hey, where do I show up? And they responded, said, what's your shirt size? This is when you start. And so I look back at that and think it's funny, but
You need to print that off and
yeah,
frame
exactly.
it on
I'm
the
gonna
wall.
frame it
Man.
on my wall. Yeah. But I think it was just, showing up on that first day and, if anyone's, met our ownership group, they know that they're ambitious. They're
Yeah.
not just people that want to, they don't just want to have a good company. They want to have a great one, and they don't want to just have one. They want to have as many as possible.
Yeah.
They know that growth is through just constant, just pushing the agenda.
Mhm.
And as simple as it sounds, I showed up to be a mover. The only thing I had on my mind was making 17 an hour at the time, get some cash
Yep.
tips, and go back to school. And COVID was done. But from that first time I sat down and they handed me a piece of paper to sign my name on and apply, first thing he said was, do you want to make decent money, and do you want to work hard and work for a company that believes in the people that work for him? And
Yeah.
I'm like, there's only about 5 people that work here, and you guys are 2 of them. Like, how is that possible? And so that's exactly the way they met me the first day I met them. And they said, hey, there's an opportunity here. We need to find people that have the good head on their shoulders. If it's something that you're interested in, they knew full well that I was in school, hoping to do something else with my life. Had no idea what what I was going to do post school, but they met me with like that attitude from the start. And like I said at the time, probably just brushed right off my shoulders. I didn't really put too much thought into it, but
Mhm.
that's how they met me at first, with the idea of what's possible. Um, and they've carried that same mindset the whole time, whether through good times, bad times, slower days, busy days.
Yeah.
It was always, hey, you're going to get to this one point, it's going to work out. And sure enough, it did. So that's probably what's helped me, stay where I'm at
Yeah.
and keep that grind to go through each different role. Is I just kind of think back to that. They didn't know anything about me. They
Yeah.
just knew my name on an application online, and then they met me in the first 5 minutes. They told me about that possible path, and it worked out.
Nice. How long you been with the company?
Started in 2020, so 6.5, almost 7 years now.
I mean, that's a pretty quick path, like up the ladder there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: what was it about working for a startup versus
Yeah.
going? Because like obviously there are a lot of moving companies in our
Yeah.
area and across the nation. What was it about you? What was it about it that enticed you to work with a startup versus like one of the big boys?
Um,
Or was that even a thought?
Yeah, it wasn't even a thought. Yeah, it was really just the weight of, thinking, hey, I could either drive back to Farmville and do, kind of like the landscaping type job I was doing then just to make money, or I can,
Yeah.
I lived here in town, so I could stay home and, not have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to work and make probably the same money.
Never
And
going
to me,
along with.
that's
Nobody wants
all-
to be a townie in
Yeah,
Farmville.
exactly. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to spend my nights at the McAdoo's or something like that with the townies. So I was like, I'll just stay home and do that. But that's all the thought I had to it at first. I didn't. Like I've joked with people a ton of times when I make my introductions about who I am and where I come from. I'm like, before I started there, moving was an industry that I knew was there, but
Yeah.
never knew how it functioned. I thought, people just move houses and all of a sudden their stuff's picked up one day and it's there. That's got to be as simple as it is.
Yep.
But then you find the intricacies of it. And it's a lot more complicated than that. So it wasn't more so weighing the options of other companies. It was just a spur of the moment thing that
Yeah.
happened to work out.
Nice. What do you think? Because I like the fact that one thing I can always say to my team members here, starting the company was that there is not a job that anybody here is doing that I haven't done at some point.
Right.
So, like, nobody can ever come in here and I'm like, hey, I need this done in the next hour. And they're like, man, actually it takes 3 hours. No, it takes
Yep.
an hour because I used to do the job and I didn't have as many tools as you guys
Yeah.
now have with the AI and everything
Yep.
like that. So does that bring a level of respect when it comes to working with your team where they look at you and they're like, he's not just barking orders at us, like he's actually done this?
Yeah, I like to think it does. That's kind of the way I looked at it at first. When I first got in the role, we were still developing a lot early on. We didn't have a full sales staff at the time.
Yeah.
Our sales team used to be handled by, people doing my role prior, and then we'd answer the phones in between doing tasks. So, as I got into that spot, that was kind of my mindset. It was like, well, if I know that I've completed every role that's below me,
Mm-hmm.
if anything pops up, we should have an answer quickly. And if I don't know it, like I said, the ownership group is right there, beside me most days, or they're a call away.
Yep.
They'll know it because they taught me how to go through it because they did it themselves. So Ideally, yes, it is positive. It's not always received the same as you know. Like
Yeah.
you said, you've experienced it yourself, knowing that it can be done, but it might not be done the same way.
Yep.
It can be received well by people that way. They could be thinking, "Oh, great! Well, now I know I have someone to lean on, someone that's experienced it." Or it can be received differently and say, "Okay, well, this guy thinks he knows
Yeah.
everything." But thankfully, we have a pretty good team overall from not just labor staff, because I came from that moving supervisor background. I've moved similar pieces of furniture that they've moved, and I've worked 14 16-hour days in 100-degree heat, just like our
Yep.
guys do today. So it helps a little bit. I never try to dive too deep into that, because I always tell myself I don't have to sell myself to someone. I
Yeah.
want people that are just going to believe what I'm telling them. So I don't want to have to oversell. Hey, I've done this, you can do it. If you believe my first word that I'm telling you, then I know we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
And I kind of carry that with everyone in our team, because they know kind of my path. That, like you said. So when I'm telling them something, hopefully that's like in the back of their mind. They think that I'm not just BSing them, kind of thing.
And I look at y'all's industry as one of those industries that's somewhat recession proof, because regardless,
That's our
people are
joke,
always going to be buying and selling a home. They're going
Yeah.
to be moving jobs from one state to the other. They're
Yep.
always going to need this service.
Oh yeah.
But I also look at it from the perspective, like with the career path, like you yourself said, like when you first started with the company, like I never thought about working for a moving
Yeah.
company before, but it's kind of like with the NFL. Like everybody thinks like, oh, I'll make it to the NFL, be a player on the field.
Yeah.
There are thousands of other
Yeah.
jobs around the NFL, whether it's
Oh, yeah.
marketing, accounting, like merchandise, like
Yep.
all these different things that go around that. So for someone that's considering a career and they're not quite sure where they want to go, I feel like your industry is one where like, hey, you want to do marketing? We need a marketing team.
Yeah.
You want to do accounting? You need management, like all
Yeah.
these different things. So kind of break down like the different careers. Like obviously people are just going to think of movers, but like
Yeah.
what are other things that they could do?
Yeah, I mean that's like it's tough to sell, because we're in a position that's heavily labor intensive.
Yeah.
People graduating school, they might not think, hey, I just got my degree. The first thing I want to do is go work for $20 an hour and make
Yeah.
tips and lift heavy stuff. I'd rather go try to sit in an office or stuff like that. But
They're playing
as
baristas
people-
at Starbucks
yeah,
with a master's
right,
degree right now.
as people learn, as I did, and family and friends did, once you get that career path done, or you think that you have that paper that is solidify you for this amount of time, the workforce is a scary place. It's not
Yep.
always welcoming. So we try to service ourselves as like a bridge gap too. We want to let people know that we know that we might not always get the long-term people. We get people that are a couple months, a couple weeks, and then they find that new position. I have people that hit me up all the time and say, hey, I know you still work there, can I get a couple months of work in? Of course.
Yeah.
Like we'll take good people all the time. But yeah, I mean, labor force is where people like to see it, because they know that their schedule is super flexible. We'll take people on a couple days, we'll take full-time people, whatever the case is. But at the same time, if you see something online through our postings that intrigues you about a sales position, a management spot we have open, we tend to like to promote from within, because we want to have people that start at that bottom spot, similar to how I did. We want them to see that, hey, life isn't only being a labor position or whatever the case is. So we try to promote from within when we can. But obviously, that's not always possible.
No, for sure.
Kylie didn't come from the moving side of it and then make her way up.
Yep.
So we do hire from outside at times, but there's definitely paths. Like I said, marketing. We're always hiring for salespeople. that's one of the things we've learned, that you can't always have all your eggs in one basket. You can have good people when you do, but you can't pass up A+ talent on the outside if you feel like you might have A- to B+ work going on every day.
For sure.
If you get an A+ candidate, you can't turn those down. So you always have to be ready to grow and things like that.
Absolutely. Now let's break down the service, because I'll say this as someone, because I was one of those people that always thought, like, I've said this several times on the podcast, but like I'd see people in my neighborhood like paying for some lawn care service, and I'm like, how lazy is your ass that you can't go out on a Saturday and cut the
Right.
grass? But then you start thinking and realize, okay, if I can go out and command $150 an hour, why am I doing a $20 an hour task myself? Like
Exactly.
I'm not saving any money. I'm
Yeah.
losing money because I'm not able to go out and perform. And now, especially my age, I turned, geez, how old am I? I turned 41 or 42. Jeez. Once I got past 35, I really
You
stopped
stop keeping
counting.
track.
Yeah. But now there is no way you could not pay me
Right.
to move my family.
Exactly.
Like it's, especially with kids, we got a 5 and a 4-year-old, and just managing that, boxing everything up, making sure it's getting here, like breaking this down. And obviously at my age too, my friends are not. I can't call them and be like, "Hey man, you want
You can't
pizza and
sell them on the
beer?"
beer anymore. Yeah.
Like I'm not slipping a disc to help you move a couch,
Yeah.
bro. Like it's not happening
Yeah.
anymore. So break down that service because I think a lot of people really don't understand because you have some of those crappier companies that are just like throwing boxes around,
Right.
but then you have more premier service like yours. So break down the service you guys provide.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of moving it, like I said before, my viewpoint was it's as simple as pick it up, place it, and go about your day. Obviously, there's a lot more intricate parts to it. The simple side of it is we do, commercial residential moves. There is really not much that we can't do. We specialize in packing as well, loading services. It's very common for people to, you can't always convince people to use your entire services. Sometimes they've said, hey, I've already got my truck. Just want you to come load it. And you can say, hey,
they got like the pods or something at their house.
You can say, hey, you don't really need that. We can move it all for you. But if you want to, we'll just load it. Or people coming in from out of state, they need someone to unload their items. We'll do that. We'll still show up and do that. Super common, rearrange, just moving items. Hey, I got a bed upstairs. Like you said, today you don't want to move. You might have the nicest bed set upstairs and know that it's a pain to put together. And you want it on the first floor now. It's like, okay, well, let me see what these guys can do. And you give us a call, say, hey, I need it moved third floor to first. Perfect. We'll show up. We'll, take it apart for you, reassemble it for you, get all that stuff done, and still give it the same attention as if we were doing, a full service move.
Perfect.
So like I said, residential, commercial, loads, unloads, rearranges, full service moves, stuff like that is really our specialty.
Love it. Talk to me about the attention to detail that you guys get. And I'm speaking from an experience that I use with another company. Now that I know you guys and we work together, for sure, when I move to the next house, you guys are handling that for me. But I will never forget the first moving company. Me and my wife had built a brand new townhome. This is back in 2019. We built a townhome in Mechanicsville, Virginia. Yeah. And brand new, just gotten the keys, so fresh paint, everything perfect. I didn't say anything to the moving company, but I saw them automatically do this. They were putting like paper up on the wall and taping it so that when they were taking furniture up the stairs, they didn't scratch anything. They were putting stuff down on the floor so they didn't scrape the floor or anything. Do you guys provide that level of service when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, we provide a similar service to that. There's that extensive side of it where like the wall coverings and things like that. We haven't really dove into the realm of wall coverings. Again, it's probably just to the eagerness of our company, but we've always told ourselves if we're planning for that, we're planning for errors. So we just train our guys not to allow those things to happen.
That's a great point.
It was something as simple as even when I trained for my first couple of days at the company, it's like, hey, this is how you can do this. It might seem like you have no space and we don't want you to hurt yourself, but there's a way to put your body in an angle where it's going to hinder, not yourself, but it's going to use more space that you have to drag something against a corner of a wall. That's kind of how we've always seen it is like, hey, if we train our people correctly, we don't think we have the true need to, add to a customer's time of taking an hour and a half to 2 hours to put, drapings on a wall or paper up on a wall. We rather just train our guys in-house on our own dime and make sure that they're being taught the correct practices so that when we show up at 9 a.m., at 9:02, we're wrapping that first item and it's out the door at 9:05. We don't have to do that hour to hour and a half of prep work. We do the floor coverings and things like that when we need to. A lot of that is at customer request because, again, that's another thing that, we do offer that premium service. And we want to make sure that the time is being used wisely. At customer request, we can do it. Obviously, we want to make sure that the customer, is comfortable. But we believe that if we're training the right way, we're going to be able to prevent a lot of those.
That GM has some PR training. You navigated that question perfectly, man.
You putting the piece of paper from Farmville to use it.
There you go. Now let's talk about the marketing because I think you guys have done something a little bit more unique in terms of your approach to marketing that I haven't seen too many companies do. So obviously, you and I both share a love for the game of golf. It's the only sport that you can love the hell out of it, and it's never going to love you back. But even before we started engaging with you guys, like the golf tournaments I was playing at, I always saw Cavalier Moving there. So talk to us about you guys' strategy. Obviously, the social media component, we help you guys out on that end. You have a great in-house marketing team on that side with the socials. Why did you guys choose to go after and target golf tournaments as a way to promote your business?
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was there was some complicated thing if we used we were the first to get to AI and it told us to do this, but myself, our two owners, we love the game of golf. We're thankful enough to just attended Augusta for the Masters.
Oh,
so
all right, podcast over.
That kind of shows our love for it, where we were able to
Hold on, pause, man. You were at Augusta?
Yes.
All right, give me. We got to take a little detour, man. Give me a quick 3-minute summary of your experience.
Oh, it's
at Augusta.
fantastic. I mean, it's way more than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Everything that you see online is true.
Yeah.
the pro shop, gift shops got everything you could imagine with a Augusta's or Masters logo on it. The food cheap as could be.
Yeah,
You know,
those
you
pimento cheese sandwiches for
pimento
$1.
cheese. I was walking around with one in each pocket.
Nice.
You know, and you can get 5 sandwiches, 2 drinks for $12, and you're on your way.
That's crazy.
You know, the grounds are, for people that love golf,
Yep.
the grounds are pristine. You know, when you're just walking on it, just to enter the place and you see, the hills in front of you, the trees, the staff, everything is just.
Are they
top
actually
notch.
pumping in? Because I've heard stories that they're pumping in the audio of like birds chirping and stuff like that. Are they like on
I heard
loudspeakers
plenty
there?
of birds chirping.
Okay.
I mean, you'd be standing there watching someone hit from the fairway, and it seems like there's got to be a nest somewhere that you can't
Yeah.
see. But it felt natural. It felt natural. But I mean, it was just insane. It felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
I truly hope I'm able to go back. We enter the raffle every year just like everyone. But it was definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, next year, call a brother, man.
No kidding. Man. It came to us quick. It was like, hey, we have them. Are you interested? And I was like,
yeah, you got to move quick on
drop
that
of a
stuff.
hat, we're down.
You got to move quick on the stuff. What players were you guys following?
So we got there super early, just like everyone else did. And it was the final day, so we were there for Sunday. And I mean, that's like
Nice.
the biggest day. You get to see the main people. Started out early. We followed Spieth a lot. JT teed off. Was watching him for a little bit, and then
Nice.
once Scotty teed off, we were following him. So we
Yeah.
followed Scotty from maybe 2 to 12. Sat at between like 11, 12, and 13, the Amen Corner area.
I really
Sat
thought he was
there.
going to make that comeback.
Oh, dude, we thought the same thing. It just
That would have been one of the greatest comebacks in sports history.
it would have been
man.
nice. It would have been nice, man. I mean, but it's insane, man. It's like
Yeah.
it's like anything. It's like even the services you provide. I can think that I can make a post about anything and make it look good, and then it's pixelated. I can't do the same thing that you can do. It's same thing like with golf, and
Yep.
I think that I might hit a great shot, and it's like, man, that's the best shot I've ever hit. I
Oh,
can
yeah.
tell from contact to where it lands, and then you watch a professional
Oh.
do it, and it's
Their
not, it
misses
is
are our
not the
greatest
same.
shots ever. Like, when they miss a ball,
Ugh.
that would be the greatest shot I've ever hit in my life.
It was, I couldn't even. It was almost. I was speechless every time I'd see them hit a ball, and it just sounds like a rocket going
Yeah.
off from contact, and it's perfect. And I mean, stuff like that. And then like everyone's there watching one thing. I've been to football games, I've been to basketball games. You're cheering for teams and stuff like that. But someone makes a good shot, you
Yeah.
might not like the player, but you
You're cheering
appreciate
for
it.
'em.
And the roars that you hear there, man, it was something.
It's literally probably, well, correct me if I'm wrong, I would assume it's literally the only major sporting event where people aren't doing this the
Yeah,
whole time.
that
'cause
was
you can't have your phone.
just like I've seen you. You're always active on socials. You're working. It feels like 24 hours a day at times.
Mhm.
Same for us. We're always reachable. Myself, a lot of members of our team, and obviously the owner. So if something pops
Yeah.
up, I got to reach them. That's probably the first time, and I cannot even remember that I've been without my phone, watch, any
Yep.
source of technology for 14 hours. From we arrived at 6 a.m. Phone was in the truck. We were waiting in line to get in. Didn't get back to the truck until 7:30, 8 p.m. And it was something that was weird for sure.
That's got to be somewhat of a freeing feeling where it's like, because we think we have to have these
Oh,
devices
yeah.
with us all the time.
I mean,
so
I'm
just to
walking
enjoy
around.
that.
I'm checking my pockets, thinking that
Yeah.
I've left something.
Like,
and
oh, dang.
I feel like I'm checking my watch. My wrist is vibrating because my watch is used to going off. But it was interesting for sure.
That's awesome, man. Last question, then we'll move on from
Yeah.
the Masters. Money you spent in the pro shop, sub 500 or above?
Oh man.
The stories I hear from everybody, I haven't heard anybody get out for less
For
than
my
1,000.
household purposes, we're gonna say sub.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we're gonna say sub. We're gonna say sub for sure. But outside of the household, that number will stay in house for
Gotcha.
sure.
All right, so back to the marketing on the golf. So
Yeah.
you guys and your team, you have a
Oh
love for
yeah,
the game.
I mean, we just love the game, man. I mean, every opportunity that we can play, when work is stable, we're gonna do it. It's something that we find just joy in.
Yeah.
And then obviously, with marketing, once we started ramping that up a ton, we started out at events just attending, as just people that wanted to sponsor a team, helping out these causes, what may be, and said, okay, well, these people have these tents here, this
Yeah.
looks nice. They're giving this stuff away for free. That's pretty cool. And then we're leaving these events with, 12 cups, pens, ball markers, all this stuff. We're like, we can do the same thing. I mean,
Yep.
we can replicate that. And we were confident, in the people we had. And, we've had good people that work for us before. That's all great. We're thankful for anyone, that's worked for us kind of thing. But then you bring in people that, really will put their head down and kind of grind
Yep.
to it. And that's kind of what we found with our newer team. Obviously, like we've talked about Kylie, in-house. If you haven't seen her at a tournament before, you'll probably see her at one this
Yep.
year.
She slipped me a couple shots at the last tournament I played with you guys.
Yeah, we try to make sure everyone's having a good time if they're not going to before, but once they get to us, they will. But I mean, that's the model. It's like if we can have that presence, somewhere that most people, especially for golf tournaments, are having a good time, wanting to enjoy a day away from work, but also be able to promote themselves and their company. We want to be able to do the same. We're not trying to be different than anyone else in a sense. We just want to people to show up to our tent, our table. Not feel like we're always trying to sell them something. It's just, hey, if you go out and golf with somebody, you might think, someone might say to you, hey, like as you're hitting a putt, you're like, oh crap, I'm moving coming up. Oh, actually, well, yeah, when I was at the course the other day, they had a great setup. These are the people I met, and you might not know us from anything. Obviously you do, but it could be someone that's random and says, hey, actually, I remember these people that were at an event I was supporting. Why don't you give them a call?
Just
that's
the
whole
awareness
premise behind it. Is we just want to be out there. We want people to recognize the brand. The trucks, they're bright orange, they're white, they're blue. You can recognize them from a mile away, but we want them to recognize the people too. That's the main premise behind it. If we can enjoy golf simultaneously, fantastic.
Win-win.
Yep,
win-win. Because I'm currently, obviously, I'm a digital marketing guy. I fully believe in social media, video, podcasting, all that stuff. I'm starting to change my thinking in terms of getting into more forms of traditional marketing, like what you guys are doing. Like, I'm considering billboards right now. I'm looking at, I don't know if I should say this on the podcast. Fuck it, I'll say it. I'm looking at, I got this idea from a guy who owns an EV company in California.
Oh, wow.
So what he's doing is he's paying, you guys can take this because I don't own the rights to this. He found some Uber drivers and he pays them $100 a month, and he makes the huge magnetic signs and they put them on their Ubers
on their cars
while they're doing the driving. And I'm like, that is genius, because then it's like you got the branding going around.
Yeah, going around a ton.
People getting in the car, hey, who's Cavalier Moving? Like, blah, blah, blah. So my only hang up there is like, well, how can I verify that they're actually?
Yeah, how do you know that? How are they putting that magnet on?
Yeah,
are they doing it every time? Are they doing it once a day or once every trip?
Yeah, so
that's nice.
I'm still wiggling through that, but that may be something you guys
when you see it on a different Tesla rolling down the road.
You'll
know that we
that's but with that, like, kind of talk to us about the ROI that you've seen with that, because now my mind's intrigued in terms of just from a pure branding perspective. So a lot of people don't understand the difference between branding and marketing.
Yeah.
So when you're marketing, you're trying to convert to sales.
Yep.
Branding is truly just brand awareness. You just want people to recognize the name, so that when they're thinking of moving, whether they met someone from your company or not, they may have just seen the truck roll by, they may have seen your tent at a golf tournament and didn't even talk to you guys, but they recognize the brand. What's the ROI that you guys have seen from that in comparison to like other forms of marketing? Are you really seeing ROI with this?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we are.
Yeah.
Our CRM we use is purely based around moving. That's something too. It's like, thinking back to how we first talked, it's like, moving, it's got to be pick up, put down.
Yeah.
There's umpteen CRMs out there that are purely catered to helping companies like us function day to day and track everything. Ours is perfectly useful for it as well. We're able to track affiliates and where people are coming from. If it comes from you, we got a tab for you where we can track and say, okay, well, Sam's giving us this. Okay, perfect. Well, he's got 20 leads in a month. Same thing with that. It's like, we could have 10 people that say, oh, I saw your truck. Okay, perfect. Well, if we don't get those as much, are we changing the design, or are they not as noticeable? So, I mean, ROI is a big part of it. Every company is going to function off of that. If they're dumping money, if we start dumping money into golf tournaments still, and we don't get the same ROI, we might move to bowling or whatever the case is. We might move to something else. But we always try to look at it as like our average move value. We know what that number is year by year, day by day. We try to see, okay, well, if we're spending, some, $2,000 for a sponsorship, what do we have to get out of that? We have to connect with one person. Obviously, you can connect with one large homeowner who might be able to help us, a good spot, or we can connect with 3 people at that event that have, daughters or sons or cousins that are moving out of an apartment, smaller moves, but we can get 3 of those. That's going to pay for our sponsorship for that event. That's kind of the way we look at it. It seems as, black and white as could be. It's like, okay, well, you spend money. Now I got to see what I get back. But that's the way we've always thought of it. If we're going to commit to something that large, how can we get it back? And that kind of reverts back to, well, if we have people out there that we trust are, Kylie, Allie, myself, other members of our team that are out at these events, are they making an impression that 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now, when someone's saying, hey, there's a moving company I know, or, man, I cannot think about moving this myself, but I guess I'm going to have to do it. The first thing that might come to their mind is the people they talk to and the brand itself. And it might lead to something down the line. We're not always looking for, next day, return.
Yeah.
If we pay $2,000 for a sponsorship or $500 for a whole sponsor, whatever the case is, we know we're not getting $500 the next day from a move, but it could be if we get it 2 years from now, it's still going to work out.
Pays for itself.
Yeah.
Long-term thinking with that piece.
Yeah.
Last question I'll ask you is, without dropping any names or smashing anybody, what's the big difference between you and the other guys in town? Because there are a lot of moving companies here in the Richmond area.
Oh, yeah.
Why would someone come to you guys over the other guys?
Yeah, so the key thing you said is without smashing anybody, and that's the biggest thing too. Is like most businesses I'm sure practice is just like yourself. I mean, there's media companies that you can run into every day. There's some probably within a half mile, 2 mile radius from you.
Yep.
But you know what you can offer that's completely different and why people should choose you.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have that stuff narrowed down to a science. Like I said, we're training people in house. All of our employees work for us. There's not, if you called us at 5 p.m. as soon as we're kind of winding down for the day and said, "Hey, my mover's canceled. I gotta get someone here tomorrow. Can you do it?" We are going to have our people there tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have our staff ready to accommodate that at the drop of a hat. Other companies in the area probably not going to operate that way. They might have, their schedule filled to capacity, and they might have to put feelers out on, Facebook Marketplace, whatever the case is, forums to say, "Hey, I need these people tomorrow. I need 2 guys. I need 3 guys," which is just part of the industry. That's what it is. It's not like they came up with the idea of using day laborers or day contractors. That's just what moving is, littered with. It's just how it works. We're just not going to do that. I can't sell to you, or I can't sell to anyone at a golf tournament, or I can't sell to a realtor that, "Hey, I'm trusting the people I'm putting in your home if I hire them that morning and then I never see them again."
Yeah.
I just can't. We can't do that. It's against what we're pitching every single day.
Yeah.
And it takes one time of breaking that policy just in a pinch or a bind, and then it could, hinder everything. So that's our big thing. We're all full-time employees that work for us. They're all in-house, trained in-house. And the other thing, they're fully background checked. That is another thing with moving a lot of day labor positions or skilled trades, whatever the case is. We're moving furniture. We understand there's not a ton to it in a sense, but we try to put a lot into it. We're not just going to, lift, walk, place, be on our way. We're going to do it the right way. And the big thing is making sure that the people we're allowing to walk into our office every day, attend, our company, represent them with a shirt on their back kind of thing, the name on their shirt. We want those people to be trusted.
Yeah.
And as long as they can pass, our criteria we have to put people inside people's homes that are spending, a more premium price for our service, we believe it's worth it. So it's as simple as that. It sounds like there could be, "Oh, well, we're doing this."
Yeah.
Everyone's moving furniture.
Yeah.
There's a practice to it that's perfect. We're trying to still perfect it every day. But if the people that are paying our premium service, are willing to do that, and they can trust that we're going to put people in their homes that are, A+ guys, they've passed a background check. They believe in the work they're doing every day.
Yeah.
And also, we've always said you can't believe in the work you're doing or put out great work. Like I said, if you work on a Monday and you never work again for that company until 2 weeks later on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Our guys are working Monday. They're going to walk back in Tuesday morning. We're going to see them. "Hey, good morning. How'd this go yesterday?" It could have been better. Okay, well, here's how we can be better. Now let's go out Tuesday and let's do the same things, but let's work on that. Same thing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're open 7 days. So we're seeing these guys every single day, and there's value in that. And that's kind of why we sell it that way is, you have to know that the people that we're trusting to be in there are there for a reason.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Couldn't have said it better, man.
Yep.
Now, if people want to book you guys, they want to inquire about your services, where can they go to find you guys?
Easiest thing I'd say is website. Our website is super user-friendly. You can fill out a quick, kind of like a questionnaire kind of thing that's going to allow you to put some brief information. It'll shoot it right to our CRM, pop up with a little bell that's going to say, "Hey, this person wants to be reached." We'll call you within, 5 minutes or less. Obviously, we try to shoot for that minute time frame, but with when the lines are busy, we only have so many people. That's another thing. Like I said, our sales team is all in office. You're dealing with people that are living in Richmond,
local,
Chesterfield, Mechanicsville, so they got to take time to call you. There's not just an endless amount of people kind of thing.
Yep.
Or you can just call our direct line, 804-404-8048. Numbers on our trucks. You see it everywhere.
Yep.
If you call that, that'll get you directly to us.
You give people the web address and the social.
Yes, you're right. So the good thing is, too, and I know we kind of briefly touched on the AI part at the beginning. We're getting some feedback on the AI. We started that recently where, we have our sales team, but when the lines are ringing, we thought, okay, well, would you rather go straight to voicemail or hang up?
Yeah.
Or would you be met by an AI version of our team that can get that preliminary question started to start your file? Thought about it for a while, finally put it into play, and we love it. I mean, it's just
Awesome.
something you have to feel like you're adapting with the times. Would you like a voicemail that, you might see or you might not? Instead, we have an agent that's, an AI affiliate that's going to receive all your information, create your file so that when, one of our salespeople gets off the line, they don't have to call you and say, hey, let's run through A to Z about why you're moving, what you need. Instead, the system already has that created because they've communicated with our AI system.
Yeah.
And as soon as we call, we're selling them. We don't have to go through the basics of, what's your name, what's your address. The system's already gotten that. Now I'm calling a super hot lead instead of just being a warm one.
Yep.
It's ready to roll from there. So that's, if you by chance don't catch a person, it sounds like a real person. I promise you that. But if it doesn't seem like it, we're going to call you soon for sure.
Love it. Love it. Appreciate you being here today,
Yeah,
buddy.
man, I appreciate it, man. This is fantastic. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys on the next episode.